Welcome to the Folio Sightlines blog. I'm Greg Vigress, president of Folio Institutional, and I'm glad to be joined today by Norb Vonnegut. Norb wears many hats. He founded Second Opinion Wealth Management to level the playing field for investors. For more than 25 years, he's been advising families and writing about wealth management. He's also an industry commentator for the Wall Street Journal and is a New York Times acclaimed author of several financial thrillers that take the mystery out of Wall Street. Norb, welcome, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Greg. Nice to be here.
Norb, let's jump right in. You recently wrote in the Wall Street Journal why you chose to go back to the wealth management profession. In that article, you mentioned that you had asked yourself and others 7 questions. Can you please share with the audience why you chose this career path and what those questions were?
Sure. Well, the overall reason that I went back into wealth management is that I saw an opportunity to help investors cut the cost of financial advice so they can keep more money for themselves. And, you know, that was a empowering kind of theme, seeing this opportunity. So the question was, how to make it real? What do you do? And to really address that, I asked myself 7 questions, and they forced me to define what I wanted this business to be, to create a blueprint for it. So in order, I asked myself, what's in it for clients? Where's our industry failing clients? What does building a company cost? I asked, what will Mary say? Mary being my wife, because I think that building a company from the ground up, you've got to talk to your spouse. Both sides of the marriage need to be all in. Another question I asked is, who's watching you? In other words, who's watching me, the founder of Second Opinion Wealth Management? I asked who's running operations, and finally, and probably most important and the most troubling for me to articulate, most difficult, is who owns client relationships. I don't really think any advisor can really say we own relationships. That's not the right word, but I haven't found a better way to describe it because of the tug of war that there is over client relationships between employers and employees. So those were the 7 questions, Greg.
I'm sure you got some great feedback from advisors and others in the industry, but if you were to kind of summarize the general feedback to that article, how would you do that?
Yeah, well, it was really great. There's so many people that came out and sent me emails or commented on the post in the journal. And it just said "welcome aboard" or "welcome back," and that's just terrific about wealth management because we operate in a world where we're just cutthroat competitors every day of the week, trying to position our own services and things. But there's also kind of this friendly esprit de corps, and that was the best takeaway that I had from that article, in all honesty. It's just the sense of welcoming. Does that do anything on a day-to-day basis? Not really, but it's just an example of what I love about the industry. You meet a lot of really interesting people, and they can be helpful to you. You can be helpful to them. There's just nothing better than the exchange of ideas in the financial services world, specifically when you're giving advice.
I think we're incredibly lucky to be in an industry that level of camaraderie exists, because I agree with you. I see a lot of cooperation and collaboration amongst folks that on the surface might be assumed to be competitors. Let me ask this, at the risk of it seeming on the surface to be a bit of a softball question. I actually find the answer to this question when I've asked it to be very insightful. What to you is the most important benefit about being an independent RIA?
Oh gosh, I guess it would be when you're an independent RIA, you're able to escape the clutches of what I call lowest common denominator management. So think about the big firms, big shops that have, 16,000 folks in them working for the organizations. Those firms have to build systems that support all 16,000 people. But those systems, those capabilities, those rules may have nothing to do with the unique needs of an advisor's client base. And in some ways, they can end up becoming disassociated from what those capabilities can be disassociated from what value the advisor is trying to deliver his or her clients. And so, as an independent, gosh, I get to wake up every day and cull through what is specific to my client's needs. I can choose the best of what's out there and develop it myself. I like that a lot. I also have the ability to work in an office with my dog at my feet, and I kind of like that too.
Absolutely. With so much focus right now on technology, what do you see as the role for online investing technology specific to the advisor-client relationship?
What I would say is it's a huge opportunity for advisors in many ways. Okay, so let's look at the demographics of our industry. Over the next 10 years, a third of all advisors are going to retire. That's fact number one. Fact number two, fees are coming down slowly and surely. Part of the pressure is coming from technology because automation can make decisions or automation can perform functions that so much more capably than individuals when those functions require constant repetition. So, for example, automation at the end of the year might do a very good job or a better job than individuals taking tax losses, for example. So why is that an opportunity? Well, here's the thing, is when you look out at your client base and you see your clients have kids and they'll want to know, how do I teach my kids about financial services? And how do I teach them the value of money? Well, the thing is if you are attuned to what the technology can do and where it is lacking, you can help parents coach their kids and prepare their kids for what the financial services industry will look like tomorrow. So here's an example of what I do. I will tell a parent, the first thing I'll do is I'll go and ask a parent, do your kids make any money? I'll say, well, yeah, my son, my daughter is a lifeguard. So think about these numbers. If you, let's say if a son or a daughter pulls out $5,000 every summer for lifeguarding for 3 years, son or daughter's lifeguard at 15, 16, 17, and puts that money into a Roth IRA, which son or daughter can do. By the time he or she is 65, that money is worth pretty close. That $15,000 investment is worth pretty close to $500,000, assuming 7.5% rate of return. Who knows if you get that kind of compounded return? But the point is you can work with parents to set up a robo with them, to set up some kind of automatic investment platform to show the value of that money, to encourage savings, to watch the power of compounding, to do it in a way that is routine and regular, and there's a plan at the start, and little by little, that child, youngster, is developing financial skills by doing rather than being told what to do. So when I see technology in the financial services industry, I think, okay, it's only going to increase in importance tomorrow. So today we embrace it and we help parents understand what the capabilities are so they can arm their kids with the skills to manage their money in the world tomorrow. Does that make sense?
It does. It definitely does. With the increase.
And by the way, I think let me add to that. The other things that advisors can do is they can call out the shortcomings of some of the automation out there. So look, we all live by the same rules, whether we're robo-advisors or whether we're individual advisors. We sort of have, we pay attention to what the SEC has to say. Now, here's the thing. I was looking at the customer agreement of one of the larger, better-known robos out there. It's 150 pages long. Why is that? The client cannot borrow money. The client can't do FX. The client can't trade options. The client can't do any number of things. 150 pages in a customer agreement, that's a long document. And I would say there are tremendous opportunities for advisors to call out the differences in their documents versus some of the automated documents or documents for the automated advisors, simply as a way to show the differences in mindset. Again, that's just an aside, but it's still very much part of the value proposition, and it reflects my personal belief that when advice is given right, it's more of a teaching exercise than a selling exercise.
So it sounds to me that given the increased presence of these automated investing platforms or the quote-unquote rise of the robos, it sounds to me like you really see that as an opportunity for advisors rather than a threat. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a way to distinguish yourself in terms of the advice that you give your clients. Look, robos are not going away. Artificial intelligence is not going away. It's just not. It's going to get more. It will weave into our lives more and more with every passing day. It's that simple, and because of that, of the way that's woven into the financial services industry, I think that the opportunity is to understand it, to teach parents and clients what the implications are, what the pros of that approach are, and what the cons are as well. And I think those kinds of discussions really deepen the quality of an advisory relationship. That's the opportunity I see teaching.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's a great answer to that. Let me ask you, given that you've just sort of spent a lot of time really being introspective on the decisions you've made with regards to this and obviously written about it as well, how can independent advisors stay true to themselves and focused on client needs?
In my view, that's a really simple question. You got to pay down your debt. You have to remove your personal financial risk so you don't have the overhang. Easier said than done. But as an advisor, as a commentator on the industry for years, what I see happening over and over again is somebody getting into personal financial trouble and making bad decisions. bad decisions for clients, bad decisions for his or her family, and those bad decisions kind of feed on themselves. So I think that if you pay off your debt and reduce your financial risk, that's really the start of staying true to yourself and staying true to the advice that you give your clients. You know, when I was in business school, one of the things that the professors said to us is they said, look, you can take financial risk or you can take business risk, but you can't take the two at the same time. So if you look at the investment advisory business, there's always going to be business risk. We have new competitors all the time. We have changing technology. We have a changing landscape. This industry is always about business risk. So my belief is that you just do your best to eliminate the financial risk as much as possible.
You recently, you've written about a similar topic. I believe the top 10 worst cliches in wealth management. Maybe you could spend a few minutes talking a little bit about those and why you felt it was important to write about it.
Well, you know, to some extent, I used to get irritated just listening to the same old sales pitches all the time. Gee, we sit on the same side of the table as our clients. Gee, we are completely transparent. Meanwhile, that investment representative is asking his or her client to sign a 150-page investment agreement or customer agreement. You know, those kinds of comments are kind of they strike me as a little disingenuous at some level, but that's not what's really important. I kind of tore into the 10 cliches as a way to encourage readers who are advisors to focus on their value proposition. What is it that they can do for clients? How can they state it simply and specifically? And that's really hard. It is incredibly hard. You know, there's so many things that sound good. So in the introduction, it probably came from something I wrote. I try to level the playing field for investors. Because as I was listening to that, you know, when you introduced me, I'm sure you pulled it from my website. I thought, I need to go back and adjust that. Because what I do, what I'm trying to do for investors is to help them cut the cost of their financial advice so they can save more money for themselves or keep more money for themselves. And that is a very specific value proposition. And I would say that our challenge as an industry is to define what we do more carefully. If we say we sit on the same side of the table as our clients, I mean, come on, what does that mean? It means that we're charging fees instead of commissions. That's how that expression is usually used. You know what? That's yesterday's battleground. Commissions have come way down, you know, because of the bid-ask spreads on stocks and things. It's come the amount of money that you can get for trading or the compensation has come way down. It's far more transparent to investors than it used to be. And in fact, if there was a study a couple of years ago by a big research firm, they found that commissioned accounts charge on average about 50 basis points a year at the big brokerages versus fee-based accounts, which are 1% a year. So, you know, do you really sit on the same side of the table as your clients? Well, you don't if you aren't disclosing that. You really aren't. So my point in going after the cliches was just a discomfort with the way the financial services industry describes itself. So that's basically what I went after it. I mean, some of the cliches that, like the one about, we're completely transparent. I mean, transparency is a great thing if you do it. If you're really true to your mission when you say we're being transparent, got to do it.
Did you find that these cliches struck a chord with advisors? In some cases yes, in some cases no. I think the thing about our industry is nobody has all the right answers, right? It's kind of like playing baseball. You play baseball and you hit 300, you're doing a great job. Everybody makes mistakes, and all I can say is that the financial services industry strikes me as a place where you come to the office every day trying to be better than you were the previous day, trying to state what you do, define your value more capably to your investors, just to do a better job describing the value proposition. It's really hard. So in terms of the responses, yeah, some were positive, some not. What struck me is fun though is that I heard lots of cliches after writing that article. I think it's been a while since I wrote it, but I think one of them was an advisor spoke with me. We win if you win. Things like that. So yeah, it was a positive response. So let's change subjects here for just a few minutes. So you wear many hats, and one of them is writing finance thrillers. What got you started writing fiction?
Oh gosh, that's a long story. But one of the things that started that's specific to wealth management is this. It really bothered me how I would work with couples, and they would be kind of divide and conquer about their finances. And what do I mean by that? Well, one spouse would take care of the investment decision, and one spouse would take care of other family decisions. And who can blame any couple for doing that? We're all leading busy lives, right? Incredibly busy lives. But I thought about this in the context of my own childhood. When I was in fifth grade, I walked into my parents' bedroom, and my father was having a heart attack. And I thought, oh my goodness, it was a scary time. I didn't really understand it for a while. But as I look back at that, I very easily could have lost my dad that night. He survived. We're lucky to have him for another 20 years. But the point is I'm not sure how well my parents had communicated about their finances at that time. And so fast forward to the present. Here I am, a financial advisor, working for, fast forward to the present when I started writing, I guess. I was a financial advisor. I was working with families, and I questioned whether or not they really spoke to each other about their finances. And so what I did is I thought, okay, I can talk to families about this, or I can tell a story. And I started writing the story. And Top Producer is a novel that begins with a birthday party at the New England Aquarium in Boston. And it's a black tie party. There's no expense spared. This wealthy philanthropist has thrown a birthday party for his wife, and during the middle of the party, he winds up in the middle of the giant ocean tank at the aquarium, by all fiction, mind you, and he gets eaten by 3 sharks in front of 500 people. So that's kind of this graphic scene, right? But the wealth management component starts the following Monday because his spouse comes in and talks to a friend of his who's a financial advisor, and she says, "Do you manage our money?" I have no idea where Charlie, he is the victim here, where Charlie is investing all of her money. She had no idea, and I thought it would be great to tell that story, that story, to express my concern about the way families communicate their finances, just with a good old-fashioned thriller, period. And so among the reasons that got me started writing, that was one of them, my personal observation about something I saw in family relationships when it comes to discussing money.
So you've got a new book out called The Pell Heist. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, The Pell Heist will actually be out the next week, and it reflects, I am just obsessed with the robbery at the Gardner Museum in Boston, where Rembrandt was stolen, a couple of really expensive paintings up there, and it's been unsolved for years. I'm obsessed with that real life robbery. So I wrote some fiction, kind of starting with a similar premise. 25 years ago, in the Pell Heist, there's a horrific robbery of paintings from a single-sex college, which is a fictional college, in Newport, Rhode Island. And the paintings disappear for 25 years. And you fast forward to present day, the president of the college walks into her office, and there's this package waiting for her on her chair, and it turns out that it was one of the 6 paintings that were stolen. It's a Modigliani. The other paintings that were stolen in my fiction are Picasso's, Matisse's, Manet's, that sort of thing. And in any event, she sees this Modigliani, and she discovers there's a note attached to it. And the note says, gosh, we have the other 5 paintings. Send us $100 million in 5 days, or we're going to destroy them. And that's kind of what gets the ball rolling in that novel. It's fun. It's fun. The hero is a guy who runs a marina, believe it or not, in Rhode Island. His life has fallen apart. He was fired by an organization that I refer to in the novel as Gulag Sachs, and he's just trying to put his life back together, and for a variety of reasons, he gets sucked into this mystery. And it's a fun read.
It sounds like it, and I look forward to reading it. Norb,
after we finish this interview, I'll get your address. I'll make sure I send you a copy, Greg.
Perfect. I look forward to it. It sounds like a great read. Norb, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you. Wonderful being here. I really enjoyed the time.
Right. If you'd like to receive more insightful tips about growing your business, sign up for Folio Institutional's blog at info.folioinstitutional.com/blog. Neither Folio Institutional, its parent, Folio Financial Incorporated, or any sister companies have a contractual relationship with Second Opinion Wealth Management. Folio has not compensated Norb Vonnegut or Second Opinion Wealth Management in any way for this interview.